All right. Okay, and also sound. So I got Taylor and John. And we got 2, 3 minutes. But is my sound okay coming through? The only thing I've got coming from you guys is just the chat. So that's my angle. So I want to. I've done this before, so not super terrified. But there's a few configuration things that are different, which I'll kind of tell you about. Um, all right, but this is so John and Taylor. Sounds okay, right? Sounds coming through just fine. Okay, I'm gonna do. Let me see. Please check the video resolution. All right. Okay. Awesome, Taylor. So I've got the little whatever you call it, little earbuds, um, and I think that's probably going to be my best sound. So, okay, all right, cool. Okay, I'm going to be right back in 2 minutes. I shall return. All right. Okay, my friends, I got 2:30, which is time. I should, we'll give it a couple minutes to try to make this thing a little bit better. So here's what we got going on. I think that the live stream is staggered by just a little bit. What I mean by that is I've got a view. In fact, I can kind of show you if you're interested. Where are we at? Yeah, there'll be a slight delay, and then this will show up. Um, I just thought you guys might be intrigued by my view of this thing. All right, yeah. So there we go. So I just wanted to give you a feel. This is what I'm actually working here. I've actually got just kind of tech sharing, I guess. I've got a couple of things going on. One is I've got sort of encoding streaming software, which is what this thing here is. It's called OBS, right? So this is on my Mac, and I apologize for the side view here. I'm looking at my other monitor right here, and I got webcam here, other monitor there. But so this basically just sets up the configuration, so I can do things like, get this guy here going, and I can move the screen, for example, and I can do I can change configuration. Essentially, it allows me to kind of just broadcast whatever kind of layout I want to between webcam up here and that's just kind of like my control panel for the encoding. Okay, let me just get rid of that, get it out of my way. Um, and then this is the control panel from YouTube Live. Okay. And so you can kind of see right up here is where I can end the stream. And then we got the chat going on right here. And yeah, that's it. So my only view is this. Well, yeah, I've got this thing. I'm going to move it off the screen now. I got that thing for YouTube Live. So if you're just, if there's any geek effect and you're just, intrigued by what it is I've got going on and how I'm doing what I do, that's kind of what's going on. And the beautiful thing about YouTube, I know I've got a few comments already about so much, Devin, so much better than Canvas. And then, Taylor, already better than a Canvas live stream. I looked at it this way. I've already got this solution here out in the world. It's called YouTube. It already knows how to do this thing. And it's not going to suddenly be pressed with, 40,000 users a week that it's not used to. It's already going to sort of be ready to scale. And I figured that my chances of having a successful launch into the online world was going to be a lot easier doing this. And so the one thing we don't have is sort of that we would have if we tried to do like Microsoft Teams or whatever. We can I did a thing yesterday. I'm on the faculty senate, and we did our faculty senate meeting via Microsoft Teams. And the only downside is then everyone's got to go get this thing installed. And again, by the way, as we're going here, since we're not in class, you don't have to wait for people to. You don't have to raise your hand. So if you want to just be dropping comments, that's totally cool. If you want to drop comments as we go, whatever you want to do to contribute. So anyway, the only downside was I wasn't super keen with the idea of just kind of making everybody install software. And maybe you have to anyway. Maybe, So I'd be curious, by the way, if you wouldn't mind dropping in the comments, what are you doing in other classes? I'd be super intrigued. Also, so what's the configurations that you guys are using? If you wouldn't mind throwing that into the comments, I would really appreciate that. We are at 24 viewers right now, and I think we got, I don't know, whatever we've got, 34 students in the class, something like that. Okay, I want to hit a couple things then. So yeah, we're missing 10, and I understand. I did send it out via, I sent out the link via, whatever you call that thing, Canvas message, whatever. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I've got a few of the comments. So Devin said we got just using videos posted to Canvas, and it sucks. I really wanted to avoid the static. I wanted to have the dynamic to the extent that we can. And keep in mind, the philosophy that I've had for the whole semester has been, let's figure out, this is my methodology for life, okay? And it's also true for like software project management. My philosophy for life is, step number 1, figure out the right thing to do. Just figure out what the right thing is. And then step number 2, do it. And then step number 3 is like rinse and repeat. So if we feel like there's a better way to do this thing and we can reach some kind of consensus, we can do whatever we want. This is already set up and rolling. And I feel like this is nice because you don't have to install anything. You don't have to log into anything. Literally just click on the link, boom, and the chat's right there. What have I got? I'm just seeing, so Devin said videos, Dustin, pre-recorded videos for all 3 other classes, Dustin. Okay, pre-recorded videos or Canvas live streams, so Taylor. So far, Tim, so far professors just record videos, mostly videos posted daily, Canvas or pre-recorded videos. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. Okay. Well, okay, so yeah, and then blue, Michael mentions, Reza using the blue switch, blue dot, blue button, some there's some blue something. Um, I've heard of it and I haven't touched it. Live room on Canvas. And let me see. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna take a chance here and say that the pre-recorded videos are not big faves. That that's true. I think that's a true thing, right? And then I guess the question is, how does that blue dot, blue spot, whatever it's called, blue button? Thank you, Michael. Whatever that is that working? Is that like, and how does it compare to this experience, right? Again, the only thing we don't have is the audio, the ability to sort of jump in audio and jump in video. But frankly, I don't know that we all want to see you like in your pajamas at 2:40 Mountain Time. Let me see. Okay, yeah, McKay was saying the other class was already an online course, so that's kind of a given. Dahlia, like YouTube. Oh, right, you get the video and then you can just pull the slides up, right? So that's also a reminder that you can download the slides. They're already in a slideshow format, so you can pull the slides up and kind of walk around. By the way, let me show you just an example of what I can do when I project out my when I bring up some slides, for example, and I don't know if this is where we're going to start today, but hang on a second. Yeah. So if you look at this, that's what we get. So we do get, you kind of get me up here, and then you've got the slides or whatever else we want to do. And the other really nice thing that is at play here, we go through this thing sometimes where I'm kind of like, trying to pull up and log into Canvas and do all the other crap, right? Well, I can also just do something like this if I need to, and then we can walk through, walk through the stuff, blow it up, Can I blow that up? I can if I click on it. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so we have the ability to just like pull up the Canvas stuff, that we need. I think this is working fairly well. Again, the only thing we lose is the voice interactivity. And then the only other thing I lose is that my control, my OBS control, which gives me the most interactive without the lag, then I'm slightly separated from the chat, which is via the YouTube channel through another window. So what I need is I need a third monitor. An extra utility monitor. All right. Yeah, Taylor, I'm not a fan of I'm a fan of sometimes having pre-recorded videos for certain things. Not a fan. It is nice to be able, so Delia says it's nice to be able to interact. I agree. Okay. And I guess the only other question was, whether the Canvas, whatever it's called, living room, whatever, I don't remember what it was called, live room, living room, Canvas back room, if that's like being a better thing. I don't know. All right. So I really appreciate that feedback. Just any others? I think for now, I think that the vote is coming in pretty strongly for just sticking with this approach, right? Is that if you wouldn't mind kind of weighing in? There's 25 of the class that are currently in right now. The other thing that we need to do is figure out some way to do roll. I think that as long as I can see, that you've got a comment, if you leave a comment, as long as you don't have like a cryptic, I think I'm just looking at the names. As long as you're cryptic, you don't have like crazy cryptic gamer names or whatever, like Overlord or something. Uh, if I can derive, if I can derive who you are from your screen name, some of you it's just your name. That's great. And if not, if I can derive it. So if everybody would just please, by way of roll, just make sure you put a comment. Now's a good time if you haven't done it, and just so I can go through and take care of roll. Okay, a couple other things by way of housekeeping. I went. Some of you probably noticed me cranking late last night. I'm trying to find my notes. Cranking late last night like a doofus. Why was I cranking late last night? Because of pride and ego. And the funny thing is, the really funny thing is that I was kind of saying previously, right, that if I didn't get stuff graded by class time, that everybody would get 100, right? And the funny thing is, sorry, I'm like, the problem now is I'm like worried about my hair. The funny thing is that when all the dust settles, I'm mostly giving everybody 100 anyway. I mean, it's like, so, and then I'm like, so why am I creaming myself? Well, I might as well get it done. So I was able to get all the readings done. I want to talk about each one of these things. Okay. Don't worry, I don't have that thing. I want to talk about the current crisis too, but let me bookmark that. I want to start with what's going on. I cleaned up all the attendance, and so up to the current point, attendance is all caught up. If there's something that you like, you were there or whatever, just let me know. Just shoot me a message. Oh, thank you, Jason. Thank you. I had this. I'm not even going to get into it. Okay. So, let's see. Your comments are just fantastic, by the way. They're making me smile. So, all right. So I'm sorry. It's distracting, in a good way. Okay. So I did all the attendance stuff. Okay. I went through the readings. And a couple of things I realized, because, again, as we've established, I'm a doof. I had only posted the readings 1 through 4, and I was missing the other one. So I want to be really clear about something. You know how I roll, so I'm not going to, hold you guys like crazy accountable when I'm a big doof. But I posted last night chapter 5, readings number 5, which is essentially chapter 3 from the infamous, yeah, you want a piece of me, huh? Yeah, exactly, Skater Chick. So it turns out that that reading 5 is from chapter 3, and reading 6 is about chapter 4, but they had not been posted. Now, we did talk about it. Let me pop over here to show you what I'm talking about. There's reading 3, there's reading 4. We had talked about readings number 5, but I want to just show you real quick kind of what I've got going on and how I'm going to play this. So there's chapter 3, and as you can see, there's only 5 submissions, and a bunch of you already read it because it was kind of part of the homework that we had to do. So it was already part of the homework. But what I'm doing right now is just a tremendous amount of leniency. So if you haven't read it, even if, you may have done the homework and only skimmed it, didn't really do a careful job of it. But so with chapter 5, as you can see, only 5 submissions. Don't worry about it. I'm not really, I put a deadline of March 8th because that's what it was on the schedule, but there's no late factor on that one, okay? And then the same thing when we go to reading number 6, again, 13 of those. So I don't know what the difference is. That's chapter 4, okay? And I put the due date again as March 22nd, just because that's what it was on the schedule, as kind of like keeping it consistent with the schedule, okay? Okay, so if you would, please, hang on a second. if you would, um, uh, sorry, your comments are just still so fantastic. Anyway, if you would jump on those. If for whatever reason you hadn't done it because there wasn't a reading homework assignment thing, then go ahead and do it. Okay, so get caught up on that. You should have already been working on that because later on we dropped on you homework 4, so it's kind of out of whack. But homework 4 is relating to chapter 2 with the observer pattern, and then homework 5, which is a little bit about the parking kiosk with use cases, and then chapter 3. Okay. And so anyway, you see chapter 5 and reading 5, homework 5, both correlate. They get you chapter 3. And then I dropped in homework 6 right here. And that's the sequence diagrams and chapter 4. So the bottom line is, I'm not going to be a stickler at all with deadlines at this point. Let's just try to let's get it caught up and find some semblance of, let's just get through this thing. That's kind of where I'm at. And then homework 7, I don't think homework 7 is, it's published. Okay. So homework 7 is chapter 5, and reading. So I've still got I apologize for the big mess. There's reading 7. Oh, and it's also published, which is chapter 5. Okay. So again, those things are kind of behind, and I'll try to, try to catch up. I do want you, even if we don't get to certain homeworks, I want to, oh yeah, and Delia just said that, that she had typed in comments in the homework that she had read. If you wouldn't mind dropping those into the readings, I would really, really appreciate it. It would be super valuable if we can do that. All right. So what I want you to know is that the readings, as we go out to the end of the semester, out through like reading, these aren't published yet. We're going to go out a ways because there's still some parts where even if we don't do the homework, I'd like you to just read it. Just get exposure to those patterns, even if I don't, beat you over the head with a homework assignment. Okay. All right. Everybody go with that. Okay. So that was the readings and the homeworks. So I did gradings on all the readings. And so if there's other stuff, I'll double check. I'll double back through for any, submissions on any of these things. I'll try to just revisit them. And then I graded homeworks 1 through 4 and 1 and 2. And I still need to grade homeworks 3, 4, 5, and 6. So everybody that submitted something gets 100 on those per our deal. And then I made sure that we had posted 5, 6, and 7, homeworks 5, 6, and 7. This organization is still a little sucky, let's be honest about that. And I'm still waiting for the summer of love where I can get through all this stuff and have this really elegant, presentation. So anyway, so here's where we are at. We are going to talk about, so today, and I'm just giving you a little bit of a table of contents. I want to back up and just kind of check in and see how everybody's doing. With a global pandemic, which I guess is what pandemic means. Today we're going to try to talk about state diagrams, okay? About UML state diagrams. It's not a big lecture, but it's a really, really important topic and concept. And I have a sort of I'm gonna make it an in-class assignment, even though you're not going to do it today in class, but it'll be in that kind of category. So I'll talk about in-class assignment. We'll talk about state diagrams. And we may want to just break the tension with a few more, pull up some more of my slides from, the suckiness of user experience. But, Okay, one other thing I wanted to say about grading. There were a couple of you that with your, I gave extra credit to a couple of you on your patterns, documenting your own patterns, where you actually documented a pattern that was like, oh my freak, and then it like changes my life. If you change my life with your pattern, then l'chaim. That's me drinking to you. Yeah, that is Diet Dr. Pepper. Okay, so I wanted to just check and look for your comments on how you guys doing. Did you guys, are you still around? Are you still in Utah? I mean, most of you are from around here somewhere on the Wasatch Front. Some of you from out of town that presumably may have just headed home. But I'm just kind of checking in. I'm just curious, how you're doing. And part of the reason that I'm being super flex with deadlines and stuff is I'm just assuming that you guys are having an experience at least a bit like mine, which is when there's a kind of a global, it's a global crisis, right? And when stuff like that happens, it's just really, it's really, really hard to just care about certain things, right? Like coding. I mean, for some of you, it's just like, I've got some of my family members that are kind of like, the gamer type. Some of you are in the same boat, right? You're gamers. It's like, yeah, gamers. You're doing it right already. Just don't change anything. And so, and maybe that's your comfort space, is to drop in and do the homework stuff and all that. But what I'm experiencing, honestly, so this is just group therapy time, right? But honestly, I feel a lot like I did when, after 9/11. I'm not trying to, they're clearly not perfectly equatable crises, but they are national/world crisis of such, impact and import, that it just distracts the crap out of you. And even though you're like, oh, I got stuff to do, and maybe I even have time, because, in my case, I'm just like, hey, I don't have my commute. I don't have to piddle around on campus, whatever. It's like I can get a lot more stuff done. And then the reality is, I don't know, it's like, then I just got to I'm just like crunching numbers on coronavirus. I'm literally, just doing like data analysis on the coronavirus and, trying to persuade, some of my friends, like why this is not just the flu, you know. Oh, Daly, that's very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah. How many of you are having that? Like your wife's home, your husband's home, somebody that you're not used to. Yeah. I got a few of those comments coming in from Dahlia and Adam, especially. When I was in, oh man, nice. Thank you, McKay. When I used to do a ton of travel when I was in Corvallis, especially after I finished my doctorate, and I was doing a ton of traveling, and we had a bunch of kids at home and whatever, and my wife had a system, and then I'd come rolling in. She didn't even know where I was, you know what I mean? So it'd be like, I remember her mom one time asked her, so where's Chuck this week? And she's like, I don't know, probably California. It was one of those. Anyway, back then I'd come home, and if I wasn't traveling, if I was home for like 2 weeks, I would really mess everything up, pretty hardcore with the kids and the routines and everything else. So a lot of that going on, driving each other crazy, maybe roommates or whatever your family situation is. But anyway, but the thing that's, so whoever it was that said, that you were a toddler when 9/11 happened, fair enough. What I just remember was it was so distracting, and it seemed like a very, globally, it's like, life can sort of never be the same, right? It like marks a point, and there's kind of a before and after. Um, anyway, it was like that, and for a good stretch, it's like all you could think about or talk about, or you just had no bandwidth, for like, why would I, why would I do homework? It's like, Anyway, I just want you to know that I've been dealing with that. And I have just, had so much where I'm just like, I'm reading articles, or I'm just like, blah, and I can't. So I just want you to understand that, that we're really all kind of going through a thing here, and we're going through it together. And I'm going through it just like you guys are. And it's just really just hellishly difficult for me right now, to just really think that all this other crap is also important, and it is, right? But you know what I'm saying? Or, I have a similar emotion sometimes when you lose a loved one, somebody that's particularly close to you, right? Passes away. And for a stretch, depending upon the proximity and, how deeply it affects you, and you find that everything just seems dumb. Like, why would I go to a movie? Why would I listen to my music? It's like it all seems so inconsistent with the moment, kind of thing. So that's another thing. It's kind of like it's a sort of like a low grade global depression. I mean, and I don't just mean economically. I mean just emotionally. It's just hard. I think it's just really, really hard. And then there are folks in our group that are going to deal with anxiety and other kinds of stuff. And maybe already struggling with depression and things. So I just want you to know that from here we got 4 weeks to get out of this thing, and we're gonna party on through. We're gonna get through it together. I'm not in a big mood now to just like pile on a bunch of stuff and act like everything's the same. So just so you understand that I'm, very much, we're going through it together, and I'm with you, and we'll try to figure out kind of what the right stuff is. So be in contact with me. I'm also not sure if it makes sense. I'm thinking we might want to set up a Discord server for this class. So it's probably, okay, look, I'm going to pull up a number for you right now. And that number is over 8,000. And that's how many emails are in my inbox. Okay. About 2,000 of those relate to UVU. So the reason I'm sharing that with you is that communication sometimes with me is just a mess. And so if we set up a Discord server, that would create, like a happy home that all the communications with us. And if we need to do office hours, jump on chat. I mean, either text chat, audio chat, video chat. We can just do that through Discord. Most of you already have Discord rolling. And if you don't, I think it's kind of like really Discord and Slack are the two. That's my gang sign. Discord and chat are the two that I would, kind of recommend as professional fluency. You know what I mean? Yeah, kind of, you know what I'm trying to say. That if you're like, I don't know what Slack is and I don't know what Discord is, and you're rolling out into a professional environment, I think that those are the two that are kind of popular right now. And so, yeah, so Michael, I agree, let's do it. And if somebody wants to do one, that's all happy as long as I can just make sure that I'm an admin on the server, as you set one up. But if somebody, actually, hang on a second, hang on. I'm making one right now. And I'm not going to invite any friends yet, but I'll server invite. Ooh, you know what I'm going to do? Yeah, okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Should I just drop this into the comments? Now, this means everybody in the world who sees this video, I'm just going to do it. What the heck? There you go. There's your invite. Anybody that wants to join the Discord server, we can just do that. And I'll work on a better icon. Or if, yeah, we'll come up with a better icon. We could do, okay, yeah, okay. I don't want to burn time on this. I have an idea for an icon. And spoiler alert, it might be, it might have something to do with that. I'm not sure. But I think that could be a really great icon. Okay, so there's now a Discord server and people are jumping in. I just love you guys. This is amazing. Boom. We're just already got 10 of you online. 11. Boom. This is just, so doesn't this beat the, I mean, let's be honest about something. This almost beats the crap out of in class. Doesn't it? Also, I can't see you. Oh, by the way, the no laptop rule. I'm suspending the no laptop rule for the rest of the semester. And the no cell phone rule. So, and then Stephen, yeah, you just gotta grab the Discord app. Just go to the app, whatever your app store is. Go to I think it's like discord.com, I think, and you just grab it. There's some app you need to. And then what is yeah? So Ryan's saying you can use Discord on the website, just on the browser, which is fine, totally fine. And there's definitely a mobile app for the phone. So yeah, all right, man, that's awesome. And then when you get it rolling, that is what it's going to look like, right there. And you can see actually that's the testing lobby for 2810. This was something that was created a year ago, Dr. K's Emporium of Computational Wonder, and that's the UVU Source Code Lab. So, by the way, if anybody wants to join the UVU Source Code Lab, that's where we meet. Basically, that's our lab right there on this Discord server. But for us, I'll come up with a better icon, so you can kind of see, and you can jump on and you can do individual chat. There is, where is it? Down here. You can do screen share. You can go live. So anyway, I think that's a good approach. So, all right, let me get that off the screen. Okay, yeah, this is actually more fun than I think this is more fun than in class. Okay, so housekeeping. So I just wanted to share that about where we're at in terms of Erica. The world did not like my no technology rule. Apparently, that's what this was all about. Oh man. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Okay. So again, we got 25. We're missing about 10 people. I'm not, sure where everyone's at and how we'll get this thing rolling. And the other thing I just wanted to share real quick was, so I've got a really good friend, longtime friend, he's in northern Italy, I don't know why I didn't think of it. So he's in Bergamo, which is up near Milan, and it's kind of the epicenter of the coronavirus, explosion in Italy. So it's really like the center of the worst of it. And I reached out to him on Facebook chat just a couple days ago, and he's actually had the COVID-19 for the last 10 days, and basically his whole family's just out, and they were kind of like self quarantining, kind of, not self quarantining, but I mean, I'm losing the technical term, but they were more or less keeping to themselves, keeping in the house. And then it was like the 30-year-old daughter, that just came rolling in, and next thing you know, there's grandpa and grandma, going down. So anyway, so I asked him about kind of just what, I just wanted to know what the story was and what he had been going through. And for him, it's been a lot of fever, just like this up and down, just like worst flu of his life kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, McKay, thank you. And really right on, and I think one of the questions I've had from people, because I do know people in Italy, self-isolation. Yeah, Jason. like, why is Italy more hit? And I think we're going to get on to the boring CS stuff here pretty soon, but why? And I think one of the reasons is that in Italy there's a much greater kind of just family living ethic of multi-generational families. So grandpa, grandma, folks my age, you know what I mean? And then the kids that are the young adults, kind of all in the same household. So in their case, the daughter comes home, she's 30, she catches it. And, I haven't had a chance to ask him yet, how grandpa and grandma are doing. But man, scary as hell, right? And then the other thing, I think the second thing that obviously has happened in Italy is that when the healthcare system is overrun, that's when mortality rate spikes through the roof, because now you just can't treat. And that's the struggle. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people just still don't understand. Last thing I'm going to say about this today, but it's a little bit like this. We're like, oh yeah, 1 million people a year die of the flu. Why are we making such a big deal? Well, because number one, they don't all show up the same day. And it really has to do with overloading the healthcare system. That's the big struggle. And so I saw this example. You come up to a drive-through at McDonald's, right? McDonald's, the sign says billions and billions served. Just come up to the drive-through and order 100 Big Macs. Just 100 Big Macs. And 4 cars behind you is a guy who needs a Big Mac in the next 4 minutes or he's dead. Well, guess what? If I'm in line with 100 Big Macs, he's dead. And that's the struggle. That's really the struggle. It's about load spike. It's really about bandwidth. It's about server bandwidth. And if you want to do an analysis of server, requisite server bandwidth and spikes on a server and, what effectively amounts to a distributed denial of service attack, that's actually what we're dealing with. And so people who don't understand distributed denial of service attacks, and who don't understand server loads and exponential growth and, things like that, they can't understand it because they're still just going like, there's only 800 people died. I mean, that many kids die of a broken arm every day in, LA or I don't know, whatever. It just feels like it's in the noise, but it rises out of the noise very, very quickly. And as we teach you in 2810 and some other classes, when you start doubling, with just 10 hops later, you're at 1,000, and 10 more hops, you're at 1,000,000. And so it goes boom, and 10 more, you're at 1,000,000,000. I mean, it goes boom very quickly. Anyway, so I'm really doing my part. I'm checking several of the boxes for the at-risk, starting with being over 60. So anyway, I'm taking it, fairly seriously. There we are. Anyway, that's our group therapy. And McKay, I appreciate your comment. And you're welcome. And just again, I feel like this is one of those moments where we kind of really, really need to be, all together and put down the petty politics and the stupid. Just put down the stupid, and just kind of pull together. That's what I think. So, but me, crazy, that crazy Dr. K, his whole love and acceptance shtick. You know how I am. Hey, so, okay, should we do just a little technology? A little tech. Should we do state machines? I want to start into state machines. Believe it or not, I think I got to do state machines. Hang on a second. Yeah, state diagrams. You guys ready? I got to make sure I can see your comments rolling. Okay. Wait, that's not what I'm trying to do. Hang on a second. Oh man, I just screwed that up. Hang on a second. Oh no. No, we're okay. I'm just trying to get this thing positioned right. No. Okay, well, no, the thing is what I'm doing here is I can actually grab, on the OBS stuff, it's fairly cool because from my little OBS window, I can actually remote control the things that are on the monitor to my left. That's all. So like I can actually move around I just moved my mouse over there, but I'm not, anyway, maybe you don't care. But, okay, hang on a second. Let me get rid of that. Okay. All right, guys, let's do, are you ready for state diagrams? Can I get an amen for state diagrams? Well, let me ask you this. State diagrams or a little more use case madness? And I'm just looking for where your votes go on this thing. Meanwhile, should I go state diagrams? Okay. I got to do a little state diagram action. And then maybe we can, stop with, boom. Okay, that's enough. Let's wrap up. No. Yeah, and let me do, actually, I do want to shrinkify this just a little bit. No, that's not what I want to do. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to just adjust. There we go. That's what I wanted right there. Okay. So, yeah, here's the idea. Tim, go back to sleep. Okay, so object behavior. So here's the idea, right? This is the fundamental thing. You already know this because, we talk a little bit about state machines back in 2810, we're talking state machines. It's really, really foundational, right? And I want to just say this. It's an opportunity for me to give just a little bit of a technical speech about something that, one of those, I was scarred in my undergrad years. I remember in my undergrad years going through, state machines, right? State diagrams. And then, you get into like the finite state automata, the whole push down automata, Turing machines, the pumping lemma, right? I don't know how we could graduate without the pumping lemma. How could we possibly survive without the pumping lemma? It's useful. I get it for certain things, but anyway, but I just remember going through all the state machines, and I get it, it's like a puzzle. So I can do your little puzzle, But the point is that I didn't really have a clear grasp on why we were messing around with all that state machine stuff. I really didn't. And it seemed like something we beat the crap out of, and I didn't know. So, okay. So, hey, Tim, just remember that, anything you say there is on the record there on the video. So just, be careful if you start naming names. But yeah, true for everybody, right? Yeah, thanks, Devin. So then I got out of college, and I'd been in some startup companies and stuff, but I get out to HP, and I'm given the responsibility to build a keyboard driver. And I don't know. I was building brand new code at HP as a fresh out of college, which typically didn't happen. So I understand now it was a pretty unusual situation. Typically, you were bug fixing and, things like that, maintenance. And so as I tried to noodle around a little bit about the keyboard, I realized that there were a number of states. For example, you could have like a shift key can be pressed and or released. You can be, in other words, you can be in the state of the shift key is depressed. It can be in that state, right, or not. Numlock, caps lock, numlock, the various things. And then you had a situation where you press a keystroke, you push a key down, and you're in the state of the key being down, and if you leave it down, then you get that brrr, right, which we call the typomatic rate, typomatic feature. And then when I release it, so that was always like I was moving through these states basically, and I realized at some point that the best way for me to conceptualize this, I was building a device driver just to do keyboard stuff, but I realized that the best way for me to model the behavior of this keyboard was really with a state machine. And then I was doing this in assembly. Now you think about this and how cool this is. And you understand, again, going back to some of you had 2810 from me, right? But you go back to your 2810, right? And you've got this idea of like the trap, remember the trap vectors, the vector table, sometimes called, what do they call those anyway? The interrupt vectors. But the notion of a jump table. Well, it turns out that you can do a state machine. I didn't even really know this. I just sort of made it up and discovered it was sort of the right thing. But basically, you could just be like, here's a table of just addresses. And every address was the address of a routine. And what address I'm going to jump to is a function of what state I'm in. And every keystroke was another state, right? So in other words, if the num lock was on and then released, I'd be in a certain state. Then when I moved into the you press the A state, it would do certain things, right? And essentially, I just created this elaborate state machine, and every state was just a number starting at 0. So I was in state 0, state 1, state 2, and all I did was a jump indirect through the jump table. So the jump table, this is not about, assembly language per se, right? But basically the jump table is just these set of addresses, and the index into the jump table is literally the number of the state. So if I'm at state 17, right, then all I do is just jump in my table indirect through index 17. Boom, I go there. It knows what state it's in, and then depending upon what, why I got here, right, what had happened, then I'm going to transition from there to another state. So I just created this elaborate state machine that manifested every possible behavior of a full keyboard. All right. So what I'm trying to say is, in the middle of that exercise, I had like this revelation where I was just like, somewhere in the middle of it, I was like, that's what all the state machine crap was all about. Like I really didn't get it, even though it was in like, it starts to show up in like every class. You're like, I sure do seem worked up about this whole state machine thing, And anyway, so that's my true story of, being 28 and writing a keyboard driver and suddenly, having this enlightenment as it relates to state machines. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is the notion of you don't have to just be writing a compiler, with a recursive descent parser that is moving through the states that happen when you're writing a recursive descent parser. When we start talking about, we can model behavior as states, right? Like here, segue back to the slide, here's this initial state, and you're like, oh, I'm modeling the behavior. I can draw a picture, and the picture will help me understand the behavior. Yes, but this is the critical thing to understand. If I'm writing the software to control this thing, I'm literally going to have these states. And these states are going to transition by either changing the state and then just returning so that this controller can then, jump into the next state, or it's going to do it by literally making a call into the next function. Now I'm in this state, and then that one's going to make a call to another one. And unless you run out of call stack, you keep calling and calling, and the call stack gets big, you're going to run out that way. But I am just saying that somewhere in that process, you really do anything that you diagram as a state machine, you pretty much code as a state machine. Okay, so I want to just understand that there's not like this disconnect. We draw state machine pictures to understand behavior, and then you're like, I wonder how I'm going to build this. If you're drawing the behavior with a state machine, you're probably going to build it as a state machine. So keep that in mind. Also, I want to say, before we kind of go on to this UML stuff, I want to just say, any comments you want to make while we're going will help me to know whether this is kind of connecting. When we're in a classroom setting, I've got facial expressions, and I can kind of gauge like, oh, we're getting it. Yeah, we got it. We can move on, or someone's confused. There's that natural cue. So anything, if you don't mind, just dropping the occasional comment to let me, have a sense of whether you're getting it, or any questions that you've got would be, that's how we do it. No need to raise your hand. Okay. And how are we doing on time? We got 22 more minutes till we're hard stop. All right. So here's the things that you see in this state machine in terms of just the syntax. Most state machines I've ever seen, they're not looking like this. Okay. In fact, okay. Thank you, Dustin. See, now Dustin is doing it right. Dustin is, follow that example. Okay. I love you guys. I just want to say that. So, I'm also losing my voice. I don't know what my deal is. But so we always have an initial pseudo state. It's called a pseudo state because it's not really a state. It's like ready. You're like, whatever. What are you? You're on the bull when you're bull riding, and the clock hasn't started, and you're just kind of, and then they swing the gate out, and then whatever. I don't know. That's a good example. Maybe the bobsled, you're there ready to go. That's the initial pseudo state. Okay. I got water, Michael. I got agua right here. I'm even out of my DP. All right. These are the states, and I'm going to pull up a thing real quick just to show you what some of these other things look like. But we have individual states. We have transitions between states. You know what these things are. And again, this is just UML's version of it. Apparently, you go to this wait state. And then apparently when the candle is removed, if the condition is that the door is closed, it reveals a lock, and now you're in this lock state. If the key turns in, then you go to this open state where you open a safe, I guess. And then you close the safe back in the wait state. If you lock, if the candle goes out, then it releases the killer rabbit. Martin has lost his mind. I don't know. But yeah, thank you, Martin, for the release of the killer rabbit. All right. So this is some of the stuff. This is a trigger signature. Actually, hang on. There we go. That's the trigger signature. What else? That's a guard, which says that this is a condition that has to be met, or you can't do this thing. The door has to be closed. And then that's the activity. So you can kind of see that's sort of one thing. And seriously, this is really, really simple, okay? Internally, let me see, where's this going to go? Yeah, this is just things like when you're in okay, now we're going to mix our metaphors because there's no typing state. But on this slide, where you're in the typing state, you've got, entry, exit, a character, different things that you can do in the typing state. This looks a lot like a class diagram, right? It looks a great deal like that. Thank you, Michael. Then lobbest thou thy holy hand grenade of Antioch towards thy foe, who being naughty in thy sight shall snuffeth. Thanks, Michael. Anyway, so this typing, it's a state, and these are like a way to identify that you're in a certain state. Stephen, guard and activity. Yeah, trigger signature. There's a guard, and then it's like an activity that that happens during the transition. That's right. So in the transition from the wait to the lock, the lock is revealed as an activity, so long as the door was closed as a condition, and the trigger is that the candle was removed. Boom. And then Stephen, I'll just assume Stephen understands that now. All right. And then this one gives you a little of that same sense. Notice back here on typing, I'm like pointing like an idiot at the screen. See my finger? I'm like pointing at the screen, like right there. This thing that looks a little like a class. When we jump to the next one, you can see, that kind of being used. Now, over here, we had a line. Over here, I'm looking at my big screen, but I don't see the line, but I think there should be a line for that. And then this is just an example of what's going on with the activity. By the way, are you guys able to see like my little hovering mouse thing? Is that coming through on your side? That's my only real way of gesturing. I even considered, by the way, doing something like this, you know what I mean? And that way I could just be like, as you can see right here, I thought about that. If the YouTube live had not been as easy as it has turned out to be. Anyway, but yeah, so same idea. All right. Back over there. Right. Again, it's that same idea. You already know what this stuff is because state machines, they're kind of second nature at some level. So, all right. And the fact that you guys can see that, but does it work? I mean, pedagogically, does it work? It is small. Okay, now this one is this idea, and really, by the way, there's only a couple more slides here, but yeah, and so yeah, when I move it, you can kind of get a feel for it. But so the superstates is this idea that I can be like, I'm showing the connections, and I'm in that state. And again, as always, guys, we don't know. I don't know. What this is or why we're doing it or whatever. We don't have all the back. Yeah, Michael, pedagogically, look it up, man. Devin, why don't you drop a definition of pedagogically? That's a little inside joke. Also, seeing if Devin is awake or if he's like, on his laptop, which is why we had that rule. Okay, yeah. So anyway, when you do like a new, you are in this like enter connection details state. And the whole idea is that I can enter a state, but within that state, I can have its own nested state machine. It allows me essentially to like blur all that stuff out, in my mind and just kind of go, I'm just entering connection details. Then I save it, and do you see the saving it? Then it's in show connections. And then if I want to like double click on the enter connection details state, then and Devin, study and practice, really, it all relates. Pop up a good definition of pedagogy. I'm serious. I think everybody needs. This is a word I say a lot, and I have been guilty of saying words that people don't understand. All right. Anyway, so inside that, notice that there's like this phase where we've got to enter a phone number, choose shared or solo, enter name. It's just this process, right? When I'm done, I save and I'm showing the connections, right? So this is just to kind of say superstates and substates, or however you want to. I don't really care. They're called superstates, but to me, it's more like nested states. I mean, it's like any state itself can be modeled as a set of other states inside of it, but I can bundle it together and think of it as one thing. I hope that makes sense. All right, thank you, you guys, for the keep it coming, for the good pedagogy. Jason, I don't know, okay, it's fair. Dahlia, we're getting there. These are not the best. I think of pedagogy as being essentially, it is the study of how you teach, but it is very, very tied into the idea of how people learn. So if I'm able to pedagogical practices might be you engage with students, you do Q&A, pop quizzes, group activities, tell a joke. All these are like pedagogical tools or ideas. Put, slides, and then, when you get to, like, I'm just going to stand there and, this is your view of lecture right here. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like just looking at the board. That's what I would call bad pedagogy. Bad pedagogy. Bad boy. No biscuit. Okay. Then we have this idea. I'm not off track yet. These are good. I'm looking at you. Come up with some better definitions for me over here. And then we get, literally, we've actually only got 2 slides left on this part. And then I want to show you some other state machines, actually. Devin. No, okay. Yeah, sorry to badmouth you, Devin. The study of teaching methods, basically. Yes. I don't know. Okay, concurrent state. That's the other one. So I'm in this on state and I'm in the off state, right? In this example, I've got on and off. When I'm in the off state and I turn something on, I go into the on state. When I'm in this on state right here, I turn it off and I go to the off state. But when you're in the off state's pretty boring. No power, you sit there. When you're in the on state, it's like you power the thing on. I've got, looks like, these are triggers coming in, right? Something like, there's some time, there's a pseudo state here where I start here, where I display the current time. I display the alarm time. This is not a thorough version, right? And then here's a boundary of concurrency, okay? So in other words, the stuff on the top, stuff on the top, stuff on the bottom are happening, they're really independent functions, but they're both part of the on state. So, for example, there's like this music playing capability. I'm playing the radio or I'm playing the CD, you know what I mean? And this history pseudo state is meant to kind of say, it's like, I know what radio station I was on, so I'm remembering that. Stuff like that. And then this is actually the Goff state pattern, which we really haven't. I'm gonna push pause on this, and then I can go back and schmooze with her. Where are we at? And and I don't even know, honestly, like what chapter the state diagram gets talked about, and if I had any sense at all, right? Oh, it's chapter 10. Chapter 10. So if I had better pedagogy, we would have been making sure we did chapter 10, right? There's the table of contents, right? Chapter 10. There we go, the state of things. And would have, built that in here. But like I said, it's not smooth, and for which I apologize. I did want to show you this. So I'm going to, where are we at? Right there. Yeah, okay. What I wanted to do was pull up just some other examples of state machines, and then I want to tell you about the in-class assignment that you're going to do out of class. Let me see. Where did I do it? Sorry, I'm just pulling up. It's actually a couple of slides that I wanted to pull up from 2810, just to give you a flashback. And I didn't look this up first because I'm a doof. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so that's chapter 3. All right. Let me bop that up. Okay, so yeah, actually, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I just need to get over to the slides that I was going to try to show to y'alls. All right, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so in 2810 we introduce state machines, right? A finite state machine, we might call it. So let me see. Oh, feng shui. Man, how do we spell feng shui? Hang on a second. There we go. The term you're looking for. Just a second. That is the term you're looking for. Is that what you're thinking about, Stephen? Which actually, interesting. We have not really talked a lot about feng shui, but it relates a lot to the quality without a name, and to that it's kind of a principle of design and usability and things like that. Okay, let me pull this back up. Okay, yeah. So what I wanted to just share was that in 2810 when we introduce students in there, for some of you, you remember this. This is just an example. It's not UML, but this is an example of a state machine, a finite state machine. Here's another one, and this one, I don't expect you to be able to read this very well. I'm actually going for the big screen over here, and this has to do with some kind of sending and receiving messages, making calls, and just again to illustrate, this is not a very complex thing. You think about, and I don't think I have anywhere the actual documentation that I built when I was building that keyboard driver at HP. But you think about all the things, because the burning question of that state machine at HP was what scan code. I mean, at the end of the day, all the keyboard driver does receive signals for things like turn the light on for the num lock. There's some back and forth, but mostly you press a key, you generate a scan code. So you'd think, well, how hard can that be, right? Generate a scan. Press a key, generate a scan code. Problem is the shift down? Is it up? Is it caps lock on? Is it function control? I'm on my Mac. I got command option, control function. There's different states. You can put many of them down, and now you're going to press this key. And the thing is, how you respond as a keyboard driver depends upon all of those states, right? So I'm just saying, now you map that against, how many different keys are there? I don't know how many keys there are. There's a lot, What are there, 30 or 40? I don't know how many there are. There are 26 letters and 10 numbers. So that's 36. I'm going to go with over 40 or 50 keys, right? So that's a pretty complex, you think, well, keyboard driver, press a key, send a scan code. But it's actually a fairly complex state machine. This is just another example. And then this is the LC3, the finite state machine that runs the LC3. Again, the LC3 being the little pseudo fake machine that we use in 2810, right? I'm just trying to show you, what this stuff looks like. I don't even know why, Stephen. Why? It's past Pi Day, Steve. No, and what's really interesting, and again, just keep this in mind when we talk about states, okay? Oh, Stephen, that's the number of keys on a keyboard. I think you're off. Okay, now I'm going to have to count my keyboard. Thank you, Ryan and Delia. Okay, so anyway. So, this actually, in many respects, is more fun than live class. But okay, so another thing I'll maybe try to drag some of this up. No. I'm going to do it right now. We got a couple minutes. And this, by the way, is another example of things we cannot do in live class. I've got to get everything on a thumb drive, right? I want to just show you something. And this is, let me find. Let me see. Okay, so there's a lot of, okay, this, my friends, is the specification, note the date, note the antiquity, 1996. Okay, this is a specification for the Infrared Data Association Link Management Protocol. This in the IRDA sort of infrared data communication world. This is basically analogous to TCP. Think of it that way, okay? All right, and so what I want to show you, and I just know off the top of my head that this is one of the various specs that exist out there in data communications and networking. Man, that stuff is heavily influenced by the need to document via state machines, okay? So this, for example, is simply examples. Okay, do you notice right here? Let me see. Let me back up. This is, and yeah, there will definitely be, this will definitely be on the next exam. This just lays out the diagram of kind of how these things get communicated, through the protocol stack. And this is just the internal organization with endpoints and things like that. Now, having laid out, and by the way, this is just the infrared thing where you like beam your business card back with a Palm Pilot. That's what this is. But now, LSAP Connection Control FSM, that stands for Finite State Machine, okay? This is the finite state machine. And so what you're gonna see here is, more of these kinds of connections, but I'm looking for the big kahuna here. These are different events. These are all just service primitives, events that can happen. Let me get to where the good stuff hits. Okay, boom, right here. Just to show you that this stuff is not like just made up crap for academics. Every protocol, every data communication protocol is running with this thing. We're out of time. But notice, see the state machine right here, right? And then you see numbers. That's because the numbers are just too hard to document in the diagram. Now you pop over here, and there we go. State number, there. This is the ready state, right? These are all the events that can happen when you're in the ready state. Is that crazy? Somebody say, yay, verily, it is crazy. And then that's just what can happen. This is what the action is when that happens. And let me see, McKay, yeah, happy to stay on. I can just, let's jump on Discord, McKay, and we can talk about the setup maybe. Anyway, and then this is the next state. So when this event happens, you get an URLAP connection indication. Then you perform these actions, forward that, do that, and then you are in the next state, which is ready, which is state 1. Now, in this case, you go to state 13. You see what I mean? This is one where the behavior is so complex that you draw a dinky little picture. And I know we're about out of time. You draw a dinky little picture with, what is that? I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 states. And then we go, starting on page 34, 7, 8 pages of table, right? And then more discovery, more descriptions of the various states. So all I'm trying to say, and I hope this kind of drives the point home a little bit, that this is real. State machines are real. It's not just an academic exercise. So, anyway, listen. It is 3:47. We are officially out of time, and so yeah. So bottom line, everybody, stay safe. Stay safe. I beg you. Let me. Where are we at? There we go. Yeah, do the right things. You know what I mean. Stay safe. Keep your family safe. Keep your grandparents safe. And if you're having extra struggles, just let me know. And you need extra support, extra help, whatever. Like I said, we're in this thing together. And I'm happy to let's just kind of journey down this road together, and we'll get through it. So, anyway. Hey, take care. That is it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the streaming, and then McKay, I'll jump on. I'll jump over on Discord, and we can kind of connect there. And for everybody else, let's try to do kind of office hours. Needing to hit me. Let's just do everything on Discord, and it'll save the email press, which is just a black hole for me. So, alrighty, later, everybody. Stay safe.